started with a set of blueprints, started with a consultation with Steve back in November of this, or in October of this year. And out of that consultation, we obtained blueprints for the house, the space available here in the basement, and designed a track plan to fit. We arrived last night, December the 10th, unloading all our equipment and everything, and began work on some of the buildings that will be going into this layout. The layout has a double-tracked European main line that circles the entire basement area, and has a single-track U.S. prototype from the 1800s that will climb up into the mountains over a pair of steel trestles, eventually arriving at a small mining community in the mountains. The first step that we began with was to evaluate the space available in light of the track that we had available, to make sure that the design of the track plan actually fit the space we were going to be putting it in. This area is approximately 38 feet wide by 22 feet deep, and will compose about 280 to 300 feet of G-scale track once we are completed. We've begun work on some of the buildings and are placing them roughly in the positions that they will occupy on the layout to make sure that we have plenty of room for our adequate scenery. During this phase 2, we've made a few modifications to the track work to make the track flow smoother and also be easier to operate for the owner of this layout. Our hope is to complete this layout in the next 13 days, and we will be taking video footage as we go along. Later today, we hope to have the bench work up and completed, and we'll begin cutting plywood for the sub-roadbed areas of the layout. Bench work construction will be a modified miniature stud wall of 2x4s topped with 3/4 inch grade AC plywood, which will then be cut, and risers will be added to it to raise the track and raise the scenery to the elevations. We hope you enjoyed this videotape presentation of the construction of Steve Hogan's G-scale model railroad. Welcome to the stud making factory. We're going to be making studs for our miniature stud walls that will be going underneath all the bench work on this layout. We've put together a simple jig because we're going to be turning out about 200 or 300 of these things in the next couple hours. So we wanted to make it so we didn't have to measure them every time. This is our work area that we've set up for the next 2 weeks. Kelly has got his workbench here where he's going to be assembling buildings and bridges and everything else while we go on. We've got nice access to all our tools and paints and everything that we brought with us from Atlanta. Steve has been nice enough to organize all the track work and the structures and the trains that will be going into this layout, so we've got easy access to them. We hope you enjoyed this construction, and we're looking forward to showing you how it's done. On the bench work, it's now 11:30 on the 12th. We worked all day yesterday to get the bench work up to this point. Kelly's been working on buildings all day yesterday and into today. Our buildings are finished. We're about ready to start laying down the plywood now on top of this thing and marking track locations. We'll start laying track this afternoon.
This completes the last of 10 Pola LGB buildings that we have built. This is a gas station that will appear in the American section of the layout. These, for the past couple days, we have been working on these, and as you can see, they're high in detail and very intricate with all their working parts. We have a number of them that will be seen later in the layout once they're in place, but they will be put in this storage room here and pulled out as needed and placed on the layout.
Now Kelly's busy putting in risers to raise the track from our 0 elevation up to the 47 inches or so necessary to enter into the town scene. When dealing with the weight of LGB track combined with the weight of 3/4 inch plywood, 20 feet long, we had to come up with some way to temporarily raise the track while we were working on it, and we came up with this sky hook system of nylon cables to temporarily hold the track in place while we leveled it, and then while we went back and put risers in underneath, which is what Kelly's doing now. Constantly checking a level for accuracy, making sure that we have no sideways
Slight bank.
elevations except for some banks in the curves.
This is the first test run. This is the double track main line that'll be on the European section, curving around the Western. At this point in the layout, Jim is now fitting each section of track together, placing it in there. After this point, we will cut the board around it, and we'll elevate it as in the previous section that you saw. It's the morning of December 14th. As you can see, more of the risers are starting to fall into position. And Jim is now attaching more of them. This is the morning of December 15th. This is the bridge work that was completed up to last night. This bench work should be finished today, and track work should be hopefully halfway finished by this evening.
Yes, folks, while only God can make a tree, Kelly Taylor makes a mean mountain. It's 2:30 in the morning, December the 16th. We've been at it today since about 9 o'clock, and as you can see by everything that is blocking the view of the camera, we've gotten quite a bit done. The loop of track is in for the entire Silverton branch. We've test run trains over it. We're going to run them again in a few minutes here. And in a few seconds we'll move over to the European side. All the track is in the European side with the exception of the main yard, which will go in first thing tomorrow morning. The mountain going up is drywall compound applied over screen wire, which is held in place by 1x4 and 2x4 risers. This small mountain, small in comparison to I don't know what at this point in the night, but will taper out into a valley where there's a garage down in this small valley.
Stands 75 inches tall.
The mountain, Kelly says, stands 75 inches tall. Our Malley steam locomotive is just now pulling past the helper pocket. This is a addition that has been added onto the layout at the request of the owner. He came up with the idea and we fleshed it out, and basically what will happen is a long train leaving Silverton Station will head down grade be entering a mountain or a tunnel right about here, coming back out again, proceed on down the hill and past our helper engine sitting in the siding to the lowest point of the grade, and then as it starts up the grade and stalls on the hill, the helper engine will come out of its pocket, come up behind the engine, push it on up over the pass, and then back down the track and pull back into its pocket, all automatically and without anybody touching it. Today has been a very busy day. As you can see, we completed all the hidden trackage underneath the European town site. This hidden trackage then continues climbing up along the basement wall and will eventually reappear above track just over behind the engine terminal, which is now under construction over at the far end of the yard. The tracks then swing through the yard, now above where they were just a few minutes ago, passing back down this long straightaway and into the far end of the layout underneath Silverton, and passing eventually underneath the double span bridges and back under the hidden section again to continue the loop. Here's a good view of the backside of Kelly's Mountain. Help! I'm lost in the mountains. Our scenery has started going in. We completed all the European tracks. We've started making some trees to go on the scenery, but we're getting to the point where we can't even see the whole layout from any one location anymore. So we're going to have to move the camera so that we can take some shots of some areas that are coming under completion. We have the mountain and the valley and Buddy's garage in place here in the island section of the layout, and we're about ready to start work on the Silverton section. The main line again down here, the European main line, as they come upgrade and head for the main European town on the other side of the layout. This is the Silverton branch up here with our helper pocket that we designed, and we're putting in the electronics to make that an automatic operation. Silverton's up on the hill. This retaining wall down in the front is made of 2-inch extruded styrofoam, blue extruded styrofoam, the kind you use for insulating purposes. The edges have been cut using the bandsaw, and this will eventually be a tunnel leading through. This is how it will look after we've carved it and applied some flex stone and some washes to bring out the detail. We'll be continuing scenery and for the rest of the day. The track work is basically in. I'll be working on the branch up to the winery over in the European section as Kelly moves into this section and starts putting in mountains.
This is one of several stone viaducts and bridges that will be going in on this layout. Jim is currently working on one of the viaducts that will be going in place on the layout.
part of the tape is classified top secret. This is something we have discovered, and we're not going to give the secret away. And so if this tape ever goes to anybody other than immediate family or friends and neighbors, this part of the tape is going to get blanked out. This is 2-inch extruded blue styrofoam, the kind they use for insulation up here in Pennsylvania. We can't get it down in Georgia except by special order. And so we're going to order a bunch of this stuff. It's great, it's load bearing, and this is what it's going to turn into in the next few minutes. This is going to be a viaduct type bridge up in the narrow gauge section, made to look like natural stone. Now, of course, right now it doesn't look anything like natural stone, but a quick coating of Plasticoat Flexstone Gray is going to turn it into simulated granite like the one that's over on the layout right now. Like I said, this is a new technique that we've discovered that we're going to market if at all possible. Here's more of our secret method for bridge construction, bridge and viaduct construction. The hot soldering knife used to carve the stonework into the bridge, and then the finished product after the Flexstone has been applied to the carved surface. We're quite pleased with the results, as is the owner of the layout, Mr. Steve Hogan.
This morning, Jim went out to the local quarry and picked up some ballast for this railroad. This ballast here is granite from the local quarry. It's called 1/4-inch rice, and it's about 80 cents a hundredweight. This is 800 pounds. It cost us all of $6.40, and this will really look beautiful. It's quite a value.
Well, as of last night, we pretty well finished the Silverton section. Kelly's skimming the mountain now. It rises 80 inches off the floor up at the area behind Silverton. Tunnel portals were all completed yesterday and stained, and about 30-40 feet of catenary was put in for the European mine. Catenary stretches on down into the European section. Most of the risers were in place on the winery branch out of the European section, and we'll be continuing to finish it today and get started on wiring this crazy thing. This is the circuit that's going to control Steve's automatic helper operation that we've designed. Basically, it looks complex, but it's really not. There's a total of 13 sensor inputs that go into this thing, and they do a variety of functions, from throwing turnouts to throwing signals from red to green, a turnout from left to right. They reverse polarity to a short section on the hill, so the helper engine will back down the hill, and then the rest of this is the reversing circuit. It's hooked up to a tortoise slow motion machine, so that we get a momentary pause between the signal being received to go to reverse and the actual input happening. This will prevent the helper engine from lurching quickly into reverse. It will actually come to a stop and then back down the hill because of the slow motion effect. The rest of these three are enable-disable circuits to enable certain sensors and disable others when we don't want things to happen, such as when we've got traffic moving against the normal flow of direction around the layout. We don't want the helper circuits coming on And so there's two sensors, one that enables and one that disables, because it will sense traffic moving the wrong direction. And the others disable or enable certain sensors at the same time. We don't want signals thrown from red to green when traffic is moving the wrong way. And so that's what these are doing. These three are enable, disable circuits. This is the actual reversing circuit, and the actual reversing of track voltage is being handled through the double pull, double throw contacts built into the Tortoise slow motion machine. This unit will be installed underneath the layout in the Silverton area, right near the Silverton control panel. Kelly is busy installing our moss, sheet moss actually, on the sides of these embankments, filling in. One unique thing that we've done on this layout is we found a source for granite outcroppings. This is the real McCoy, folks. It's set into the plaster work behind the moss, and just they protrude at various locations where we try and make use of as many natural materials as we can, because they just look better than just about anything man-made. The layout's starting to get some color here. With the addition of ballast, it will start looking fairly complete. Don't let your back get out of joint there, Kelly. No chance. It's actually, we're testing the winery operation on the layout. This is a totally automatic shuttle circuit, so that the train will continuously climb up to the winery up here on the hill and back again to a small loading platform at the bottom of the hill. The idea is that it represents a branch line with independent service on the branch line provided by this small diesel. As a matter of fact, there'll be a small engine house up at the town on the hill for the diesel between runs. The automatic circuit is being handled by a PH Hobbies REV1 circuit. It's got a built-in time delay, or an adjustable time delay, so we can vary the length of time that the train stays at each station between reversing. The power supply that we're using is a new one made by SG Power Engineering called Blue Streak. We're finding that it's got a lot of bang for the buck. The nice thing about it is it's got 3 independent train control circuits built into it. The top unit here is removable and can be connected to a ribbon cable for portable operation. We've got some 20-foot ribbon cables that we'll be putting in for Steve. And so the plan is for this one controller will handle all the 2 European main lines and our little man shuttling back and forth up here. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. The date is actually wrong. It's December 20th. We've got about 72 hours left scheduled in this project. Kelly's pretty well finished the Silverton Mountain area. We just have to add the buildings and add some detail around them and add a little bit of finish work in this area. I've been working over in Europe on the far side of the layout, putting screen wire and plaster in place. And Kelly will hopefully move on to the island portion of the layout sometime tomorrow. I'll begin wiring first thing in the morning. Well, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, December 21st. It's been a real long day, but it's been real satisfying. We're going to take several angles here to show everything that's been going on. We've got trains running on the entire European main line in both directions. A lot of the scenery work has been completed down here in the west, what we class as the western end of the layout. Lots of action happening around the layout. We'll move on down and just follow some of the things that are going on. This is a walk around the end the big mountain. A lot of the catenary is in place. Basically what we're doing is as we finish scenery in an area, we continue adding catenary. There's still a little more bare plywood than what we'd like to be seeing, but we've got 48 hours to go, and we'll see what happens between now and then. Particular favorite of Kelly's because he put in all the work on it. Let's see if you can see it from here. Is the little man coming out of the mine pushing an ore car loaded with gold ore from the mines up at Silverton. Angle on our gentleman pushing ore out of the mountain, out of the cave. Out of the mine. Hey, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. My mind's gone blank. It's pretty well finished. We'll finish the wiring on it tomorrow so we can get trains running. Lots got done today. Unfortunately, there's lots yet to be done. There's still entirely too much bare plywood and rough tin hard shell, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. This is the winery train making its continuous run up and down the mountain to the winery, and that's where we'll finish for tonight. Well, it's December 23rd. We're past our departure time. Working on getting this thing finished. We're eating into our travel time. This side of the layout is done. One of the more interesting features of this line was the automated helper circuit, which assists long trains as they come up the grade. We'll try and take a couple of different angles so you can see what happens. As the train comes up the line, a little diesel comes in behind him and gives him an extra boost as he heads up and around the corner and around the mountain. Now automatically the helper engine heads down grade, where it will await the next train, and we'll go over and try and catch the rest of this action. The automatic circuitry utilizes LGB's 1700 series contacts under or between the rails to initiate a variety of functions. The first one is the train enters the tunnel. There will be a reset relay to reset the polarity of the hill trackage to normal. Then as the train begins to stall on the grade, it'll hit another sensor which enables this small helper engine to come out of his tunnel, and he comes in and couples in behind the train and gives him a shove up the far hill. Once the train's at the top of the hill, the engine will hit another sensor which will cause the hill trackage to reverse polarity, which causes the helper engine to change his direction and come back down and into his pocket and away for the sequence again. As the helper engine enters the siding, he hits a sensor which allows the passenger train to pass the Silverton station again. The passenger train will not pass Silverton Station until the helper is back in his pocket here. And off he goes again to do it again. Favorite parts of the layout scenically. Kelly's responsible for this massive outcropping of limestone that we've been quarrying so to speak, from a location not far from the house here. The limestone has worked out so nice that we haven't had to use a bit of Sculptamold on this layout, which is unusual because Sculptamold is one of our favorite rock making materials. It was 13 days exactly from whence we arrived, and we were about ready to leave. Just one last parting glimpse at the trains as they run.
doing?